We're here at the Skindustry Tattoo Expo in Allentown, PA with Rocco Cunningham from Pike Street Tattoos in Bridgeport, West Virginia. Rocco has been tattooing for quite some time, and he also runs the West Virginia Tattoo Expo, which we'll get into here in a bit. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Thank you for having me, brother.
How long have you been tattooing for?
22 years right now. May will be year 23.
Who brought you in? Who broke you in?
I was that kid begging for a tattoo, and my mother was like, no. So long story short, she finally gave in, but wasn't signed for it. I forged a note, went and got a tattoo, and I was hooked from then on. But who got me in was a gentleman named Rick, a biker in my area that was a big influence to me that gave me my start.
So when you learned in that environment, was it a street shop?
Very much so, a street shop, and kind of quick, fast, and in a hurry, and show you some things, earn your way a bit, and then toss you into the mix and out the gate and go.
How long did you work there for?
So I worked with him for a while, for a few years.
And then did you go from there to another shop, or did you go right into owning your own?
No, I went when he stepped down. Then I went and did my own thing.
Now, did you bounce around West Virginia for a bit?
No, I stayed in the area that I'm in, and I opened my shop in 2007. I think.
Okay.
2007.
Would you say your clientele is like blue collar type, or is there college around, or?
A little bit of both. Definitely blue collar community, and there's several colleges and universities within a 30-minute radius of the town.
Yeah, because I know like Marshall, WVU. I mean, I don't know how close that is to you, but there's quite a few colleges in West Virginia in that little area.
Yeah, well, we're at WVU's 30 minutes away from us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
And then there's a lot of smaller schools too. Fairmont State University's right there.
That's the other one. I couldn't think of the other one.
Yeah.
All right. Would you say that your style is more along the lines of American traditional, or do you do a little bit of everything?
I come from that generation of tattooer that you should know how to do anything that comes through the door. Of course, I've got my preferences, you know what I mean? Things
right.
that I definitely enjoy doing. And I do love the American traditional style tattooing. I think it's timeless, classic.
Right.
You can read it from across the street.
Yeah, the old Cap Coleman saying, right?
That's it.
You got to see if you can see it from across the street, it's a good tattoo.
Absolutely.
I met you this weekend, and I've seen what you're putting out, and we'll throw some pictures up for the people at home. Definitely some solid work, man, and you could definitely see the American traditional influence as well. We got to know each other here through this convention. Mm-hmm. You run your own convention, and why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
I know you said you have a spring and a fall.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 2 conventions a year in Morgantown.
Yes.
Are you pretty much the only convention in West Virginia?
We were West Virginia's first convention. There's a handful of other ones now around the state.
Okay.
But we were the first one. 2013 was the first expo in Morgantown. The West Virginia Tattoo Expo, and it's always been housed right there in Morgantown. And it started just from traveling around, doing other shows and meeting people along the way. And when they asked, where are you from? And I'd tell them West Virginia. I'm a very proud West Virginian, man. I love my state. And it was always, you guys don't have a show. And I was like, no, unfortunately we don't. I heard it enough times, and loving my state and respecting our craft the way I do, I just wanted to try to do something that the tattoo community
right.
be happy with, and that the state of West Virginia could be represented well with.
You said it's a smaller convention. You said it was like 100 artists, 100 booths.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like here, man. It's a nice size where it's not super big, and you got to take all day to walk around. You get to a little bit more personable.
Absolutely, and there's no egos, no attitudes. And I've never referred to the expo as my convention, because it's always been our convention. The artists that are part of it, we're a family, and our expo family is, I wouldn't trade a single one of them for anything. But the majority of the artists have been there since 2013, since year one.
And you know what? I actually heard a couple people say that today, that you have said that to them in the past, where it's not your convention, it's our convention. I think there's a lot of artists that appreciate that, especially here today, because it's a little bit more tight knit. You said that you also have artists that are coming from all over the United States as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just like PA, West Virginia, Kentucky.
No, I mean, we have some amazing artists from those states, but no, the attending artists, they come from Florida to Maine and from the Atlantic to the Pacific and everywhere in between.
Let me ask you a question, because you're from West Virginia and you're doing that convention. Have you guys ever done anything in honor of like Stoney St. Clair?
So we definitely hit on the tattoo history aspect of the show.
Okay.
Mike Skyver brings his museum there. Other artists that have been at the show over the years, like Cliff White and Rick Cherry, is always there to share some tattoo history. And, I can't encourage people enough to talk to them,
Yeah.
to just the stories, the history, it's there. And it's so important, to know that.
So I don't know Rick, but I definitely know Mike. And he has pretty amazing stuff that he always brings with him, man, which is super cool to see.
Yes.
I was just curious if you guys kind of, not saying promoted Stoney St. Clair, but, held on to it, because he's such a big part of West Virginia.
Oh, he is. Yeah. We hold him in very high regards in West Virginia.
I mean, I think most people know Stoney from Columbus. Really, he is from West Virginia, man, and that's where he that's where he's buried too, right?
Right. Yeah, he was born and raised there. His father was a coal miner.
Yeah.
Any tattooer in West Virginia should definitely know who Stoney is.
There you go. So if you're from West Virginia and you don't know who Stoney St. Clair is, start doing your homework.
Absolutely. And Stoney's story, man, personality larger than life.
Yeah.
Just an incredible artist. And with what he grew up with, the rheumatism, and with the way that his body never fully developed, he couldn't walk, and his hands. I mean, anybody could have an excuse to use that, use that as an excuse, but he took it and ran with it. And it's inspiring.
Yeah. He definitely did not use that as a crutch.
Not at all. But no, yeah, you're right. He was laid to rest in southern West Virginia.
Okay. And I know he got basically his start with Coleman. Coleman was nice enough to give him some stuff and to start him off. He's definitely an interesting character, and I got to dive a little bit deeper into the Stoney St. Clair stuff when I interviewed Joey Knuckles, who I guess he's, for all intents and purposes, he's the keeper of Stoney St. Clair at this point.
Very much, yeah. He has an incredible collection.
It always amazes me every time I see the video with Ed Hardy. And, when you had people that we now hold in high regard.
Absolutely.
That made sure they stopped to see him. That should tell you what kind of artist Stoney St. Clair was. Whether, man, he wasn't doing the most impressive tattoos, but his clean, solid work, man.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's,
his tattoos definitely stand the test of time.
For sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. And so does, like, his flash is as soon as you see it. Yeah. Stoney St. Clair right there, man.
Absolutely.
All right, so you do a spring and a fall convention. What's the dates for the spring one?
This year for spring show, it's April 10 through 12.
Okay.
So it's coming up here in a few weeks. And then the fall show will be August 21st through the 23rd.
And where's it held at?
It's at the Marriott Waterfront Place Hotel and Convention Center in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Okay. So if anybody's looking for a show in West Virginia, Western PA, Kentucky, Southern Ohio, there you go. You got no excuse.
And I can't say enough about the Expo family. The artists that come there, like I said, no egos, no attitudes. It's real tattooers doing real tattooing. And anything that anybody would want, any style or genre of tattoo, it's there.
Right.
And it's a good thing.
So with you being brought up in the old school mentality, let's say, how do you feel about the state of tattooing right now? Definitely
seen a lot of change over the last several years. I think more than anything, when you see larger non-tattoo related entities trying to step their foot into what we do, it's like anything, it's going to change, and not in a good way. And I hear a lot of people referring to tattooing now as an industry. And I believe that once that kind of mentality or influence, if you will, finally moves on, and we can say good riddance, then I believe that real tattooers that still call it our craft will still be standing,
Yeah.
practicing our craft.
Once something becomes so popular, big business is going to try to get their greedy hands into it. They already have. It's already been done.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see a change. I'm starting to see a larger presence of people pushing back, where you have, maybe smaller mom and pop companies that are being held up because they're like, screw these guys, let's go with these guys.
Absolutely.
And I hope that that's the route it goes. Whether it does or not, we'll see, but time will tell.
I know a lot of people bring up the COVID tattooers. So many tattooers popped up out of nowhere with no real training. They ordered their garbage offline and started jacking people up and decided to open shops. And then a month in, they're apprenticing 3 people who a month later have all left and opened their own shops with no experience. And more than anything, that I think about is the clients. When somebody goes to get, say, their first tattoo, they see a shop that's licensed. Well, they expect to have a professional tattoo done at a professional licensed shop, and that's not the case. Well, then that kind of looks bad on everyone else, And I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, stricter regulations, I don't know. That's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. Unfortunately, I wish I did. Sometimes I wish that we could just go back to a little of the better days of handling things more effective and efficiently. But
I think that right now we're starting to see where it's starting to like weed itself out.
And it is, and just like most things, it will once that wave, kind of goes.
But unfortunately, in that wave, there are some older generation guys that are getting sucked up into it. And that's the part that I don't like to see.
You and me both. There are way too many phenomenal long-time tattooers that were affected to the point that they had to make some life-changing decisions,
Yeah.
And that sucks, dude. That's not cool. That's not fair.
And look, some of those older guys, maybe they don't do the realism and all the stuff that's, newer stuff that a lot of people are starting to get. Mm-hmm. But they were damn good tattooers, could do competent tattoos, clean tattoos. There's no reason they shouldn't have been able to succeed. And it's sad, man. But hopefully this thing course corrects and we go back to the way it was.
I believe it will. I believe it'll get back there one day because, the magic in tattooing it's just that. It's magic, you know what I mean? And it's still there. I mean, I still see it every day.
Right.
I love it just as much today as I did the first day.
So at one point I did look at the statistics of the amount of people getting tattooed now is greater than it ever was, blah, blah, blah. But I think I saw one of the statistics that said that the, let's say 18 to 25-year-olds is actually starting to dip. And, some of the things that I read were, hey, I don't want to get a tattoo because that ain't cool. That's like my mom and dad are tattooed. I don't want to be like my mom and dad. In a long-winded way of saying this, there are some older generation guys that think tattooing is going to go underground again.
So be it.
And I think that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Look, TV shows and all that other stuff, and I guess this channel, for all intents and purposes, promotes tattooing and whatever, but we try to take a different angle with the history and stuff like that.
Brother, you're definitely going a different angle.
Yeah, I'm not really looking for the glory. I'm trying to.
No, you're bringing the history. You're keeping that history alive. You're telling those stories, and you're getting the stories from the sources, and that's important for everybody. In the anybody that loves tattooing, that's important. You're doing a good thing.
Yeah, man, and I hope it continues. But it's just it saddens me when I see like people like Bill Leoka fucking posting that he's gonna close up shop.
Yeah, man,
that's just, it blows my mind. But all right, man. I don't want to take money out of your pocket and keep you here too long, but I wanted to make sure we got to talk about not only you, but your show in West Virginia. And like you said, the first one's coming up in a couple weeks, so hopefully we can get this out in time to promote that and push it out for you. And if anybody's looking for you, how can they get a hold of you on Instagram?
Rocco Cunningham Tattoos.
There we go. Thank you for stopping out. Have a good night.
Pleasure.